3 months ago, my game had no building, no map, and no day-night cycle. But now it starts to look like the beginning of a real survival world. Let me show you how I've done all of this, and what I messed up along the way. First thing I have to do is add the hammer. Great, I'm able to reuse the crafting UI for selecting the buildings too. That's what I got here, with a stone and a wood wall. And now I made it so I can preview the building basically, and also place it down on the server. But it's currently impossible to destroy them again. So let's go ahead and add that. Works just like you break the trees. I added the little shake animation too, and it drops half of its materials again. Since I already have the 2 crafting stations, I made those placeables too. Nice. We already have a theoretically functional building system now, but it's really inconvenient to build with it. What we have to do is add snapping, but that turned out to be way more difficult than expected. The first step was adding these colliders, so I can check if the player aims their mouse on them. I spawned them in a radius around the player to reduce lag, and now it automatically snaps the building, but you can't rotate it around the snapping point yet, the way you'd expect it to work. And when I tried to fix that, I got some really funny results. So, on the first try, I failed. But I did manage to add something way more complex. If you destroy structures, all of them that are connected to it and would float in the air otherwise will also break. I came up with that algorithm myself, and I'm pretty proud of it. It almost instantly detects all the structures that have to fall and is really optimized. I then spent about 3 hours adding these 3 new buildables. The thing that took so insanely long are all of the snapping points. They have to be added manually and configured, so that takes quite some time. The next challenge was to make it so you can also break structures you placed with a hammer. It adds this red highlight, and when you click, the structure just instantly disappears. You can only do that with your own builds though, and only for the first 10 minutes after you place them. The thing with my current hammer UI is that it's so ugly. I had to make a new one. Here we go. As you can see, quite a few new buttons. I'll make all of them functional later in the video, so make sure to watch that through. I also finally managed to add that rotation snapping thing. So useful. You can make circles now. Oh, also, you can stack yourself up like this, which is pretty cool. Works with copper ovens too. Let's see how much it lags if I break everything here. Not even a little bit. Wow. I joined the game with my Discord servers, and we stress tested some stuff. If you want to be a tester too, join the Discord in the description. I'm also sharing my progress there all the time. You don't want to miss that. I then got inspired by this castle donkey build, and I had to add floors. So here you go. Another 2 hours or something gone because of the snapping configuring. Most of the building in the game will be on the map, but I don't have that one yet. It won't hurt to start blocking out some stuff though, and I'm just going to build a little part of it. Yeah, that didn't quite work out. I ended up building a really huge area. In the first devlog, I said this was going to be the map, but yes, it looks insanely similar to TSG, so I remade the concept on paper. In the north, there are the cold biomes, and the hot ones are in the south. I greyboxed this in Roblox Studio. Can't really make anything out of this though, so I used actual terrain. Yes, this is better. Now, fill in the islands. And oh, what was I writing here? Subscribe to Stand 7? You should totally do that right now. I connected the old baseplate with the map block out with a bridge. Now that my map is made of terrain, my building system can't really handle that anymore. I made it on the baseplate part, and that behaves very differently than terrain, so I had to adjust my script. It works pretty well now though, which is good. For mobile support on the building system, I added this little point where you aim at on your phone, since you don't have a mouse there. And I added these hammer UI animations. Not perfect yet, but I'll rework them in the future. And one more thing for mobile. I needed to add rotation buttons. Roblox's built-in mobile button system is so horrible. You literally can't change their looks, so I made a custom one. Look at this chicken building. So cool. I then fixed the UI animations and moved the item collection display over the hotbar. A lot of playtesting later, and I finally did something about the fact that adding snapping points takes so long. I modified my plugin I made last devlog, and I also updated the UI. Looks a bit nicer now. So I added the remaining colliders for the floors and wanted to experiment with map making a bit now. This is my first time really working with terrain, so let me walk you through my newfound workflow. First, I make a rough block out of the mountain I want to make with a material like sand. I always make sure that the terrain I'm working on will be fun to play on, meaning good for building, for defending a base, for exploring, and of course for PvP. That's why there are quite a few completely flat surfaces. Here, there are two paths under this overhang, on top of the mountain. After painting everything in a more reasonable material, like stone and grass, I'm working on the cave system. There's an underground sea here, as well as multiple cave arms. I always make sure to playtest everything all the time. Here's also this kind of trap cave entrance. I then painted the rock on the mountain walls, and I repeated the same on the other side of this terrain. And after I got this plain mountain, I decorated with trees, bushes, rocks and coal. And copper ores. A few testers joined again and we playtested the map. I also added some secret caves and stuff. You're just going to have to play it yourself once it's released. That's still going to take a while though. Somehow I completely forgot that I should work on the building system, and I continued working on the map. Since a lot of people told me that the part I just made looks like the TSG map, I increased the terrain height on the new one a bit. So there's like a huge plateau in front of the main mountain. That one will be the transition from mainland to jungle, by the way. I decorated everything with models and made some of these terrain variations. This looks pretty cool, and like all trees around it are facing away from it, as if there was like an invisible force pushing them away. In the caves, there's also this copper mine thingy. I'll probably make more of these since most testers gave positive feedback for this. Alright, if you think I already made a lot of progress on the map, let me zoom out a bit. Yeah, still a lot to do. I then tried to model a palm tree, but failed horribly. So let's just go on to configuring the last few connections. I also made a data store extension, the unlocked buildables save now too. From now on, you'll see me wearing some new clothes, by the way. This is my official Roblox merch. I completely drew it myself and it's of a very high quality. There's my normal shirt and pants right now, as well as an exclusive premium variation of the t-shirt. Link is in the description, thanks a lot for the support. I then made these grip buttons work. Probably the most useless button from the right side here. And here you can either show or hide the snapping points and completely disable snapping too. I added check marks to show which things are toggled right now. In the test session, I accidentally left my merge dummies here. And we spammed the whole map to see if we'd lag. It surprisingly didn't. Alright, now I need a lot of icons for this hammer menu. So here we go, speedrunning icons, grid icons, rotation icons, toggle snapping icon, show snapping colliders icon, build icon, change building icon, and finally, destroy building icon. That was a lot of icons. Now, switching all of the text out of the images. And here we go, way nicer. I also added this torch buildable, which lights up things like this castle quite nicely. It's crazy what people can already build with these few buildables. A little bit of stress testing and I added the remaining wooden buildables. I then experimented with water, and after asking the Discord server, I decided on using the default Roblox water. For some reason, I just sink to the ground instantly right now. Yeah, I don't know, let's go play some Monkey Raft with a friend, I guess. Bro, I was in a menu and couldn't see. That's crazy. I guess I should go back to development again then. So, the problem with the water was that I added a custom hitbox to each player, and that one has a really high mass. So, I just made that one lighter and it works. I was even able to make the player slowly sink down when idle with this hitbox density. I then made the ocean ground bigger so I can sculpt some holes and stuff in it later. Ultra then showed me this website to compose some music. It's really basic, but I was able to use it. Nothing that would fit the game really, but Ultra made some cool game music which I might use eventually. Listen. Thank you. Ultra also built quite some insane stuff. I'm going to show you some more awesome builds later, but first, let's add some of the real water in on the map. So, I had to remove a lot of sand in the ocean, and then use this plugin to add in the water. Yes, this looks pretty awesome, not gonna lie. You can also build underwater. And I added paint where a river and a sea will go eventually. So, fun story. I forgot to pause the next recording. So, now I got a 12-hour video. Let me summarize what happened in that half a day. I joined Huxota, who was building this cathedral. Looks insanely cool. I love the door. I then added a 3x3 floor and made it snap to the bigger floor and itself. Then I prototyped the ladder. I used the Roblox trusses to make the character climb it. Now that this works, import it to Blender to get the exact size. Change the model to a ladder and re-import it into Studio. Here we go. New ladder buildable, which you can also connect to normal buildings, allowing you to do some cool stuff. In this testing session, Ultra built this building and a little ship, and I made this underwater thing. And last, I started working on a painting system. I finished all of the back-end coding. It's pretty cool. You can either paint the whole model in one color or all of the individual parts with different colors. The next day, I started working on the color picking system. I want to do something like this, but I have no idea how to do it. So let's get a tutorial and look how it can be done. Let's also do some more UI stuff like a hex and an RGB code display. I then followed the tutorial and added this color wheel, a darkness slider and the output color. A lot of coding later, some texture importing, and this works now. Well, at least on PC. I'm going to have to redo a lot of the code from the tutorial in the future to add mobile support, and just to make it more optimized. But it works right now. You can't input a hex or an RGB code yet though. But look at this. Smooth. But let's move away from the painting system real quick and make some more assets. Some flowers. I want to spread them over the map to make it a bit more colorful. These assets have to be very optimized because they're gonna get spammed a lot, so they can't look too good. But here's the first one. I mean, looks alright. A sunflower, good as well. The third model was so bad, I ended up completely scrapping the idea. But the fourth was usable again. A tulip. Looks pretty cool. I made these breakables with an axe and turned off the collision. And now, manually spreading them over the map. This takes way too long though. I did it for the first mountain. But for the second, way larger one, I thought of the one plugin again. Brush tool. You can basically just paint assets with it and randomize their size and rotation. This made spreading the flowers on the map way easier. Like it's so much faster, and it's even quite fun. In the end, I ended up with this. Beautiful. And one last thing with the map, I went ahead and made a day-night cycle. It's not perfect yet, but it makes the game feel so much more alive. I also set that code up so that I can speed the time up really easily. Meaning I can make it so during the night, when players sleep in beds, the time passes faster. Currently, the day is 12 minutes and the night 6 minutes. I re-scripted most of the color picking script, so you can now input RGB and hex codes too. Then I made a dev platform far above the ground, where I got space to place models and do dev stuff. In theory, you could build up there with ladders, but surely nobody is going to do that. I added all of the missing connections of the buildables too, and even patched an exploit you could theoretically do for picking up items that you don't really touch. Something stupid with the Roblox engine, once again. And then I got a bit too motivated and added a whole private server saving system in one single evening. And it even works without any bugs. So if I join my private server, build some stuff here, leave it again and rejoin, my builds are still here. Let's go, that's really good. I also added new wooden wall models and made it so you can paint them in different colors on each side. This is recording number 100 of this entire devlog series. Wow, the game is really coming together now. In the next devlog, I'm going to add PvP, since this is way too peaceful right now. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Here are some other devlogs, and my Roblox merch is linked in the description too. Thanks to both of my channel members. Hamburgers and I'm no Max T-Bag Free. Last one has been a member for over 9 months. Wow. Thank you so much for watching and bye. Subscribe.